Space is fascinating and terrifying all at the same time. Some of the biggest breakthroughs in space science are another step for mankind, but just how much do we really need to know? I'm good, just stop. Stop telling us how small we are. Welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. Here are the top 10 NASA reports that shock the world. Let's do it. Kicking off the list at number 10. Black hole secrets. This one I'm extremely excited for, and you should be as well. Only a couple of weeks ago, NASA launched a mission to measure X-rays released by black holes and neutron stars. Sounds pretty scientific and nerdy. X-rays are extremely powerful, but we can only do so much with Earth's atmosphere standing in the way. That's where science comes in. We'll just blast an X-ray out of there. Boom, problem solved. 190 million, debit, bop. It'll go on a 2-year mission, seeing the universe in ways that we never have before. We'll finally see what's going on with these high energy events, like stars exploding or the birth of black holes, rapid rotations, extreme temperatures. Everything in these X-rays will tip us off to their origin, which is vital when it comes to something like a black hole, something we already know nothing about. Polarized light only vibrates in one direction, whereas light, our light, vibrates in any direction. We're narrowing this cosmic puzzle down one piece at a time, and it's pretty exciting, but like I said, definitely terrifying. Number 9. Voyager 1. We've looked at Saturn in awe more so than the other planets because of its rings. Maybe it's the 2008 Beyonce classic Single Ladies, but we love rings, still to this day. Since 1610, we've known about Saturn's, and it stood out ever since Galileo brought this headline to town. Its many moons get hit by many meteors, and the dust and ice that follows orbits the giant. But it wasn't until 1979 until we discovered that Jupiter also has rings. Small, but mighty. That discovery came after the Voyager 1 passed Jupiter, but it also discovered 2 new Jovian moons. So far, this flyby is treating us quite well, but it only gets better. Only gets better. Once Voyager 1 got to Saturn, it found 5 new moons and an entirely new ring called the G-ring. As of 2012, Voyager 1 has been in interstellar space, so only time will tell what's really out there. I'm terrified. Are we in a simulation? Probably. Number 8. The new telescope. Since we launched the Hubble telescope back in April 1990, it's been a key asset in these groundbreaking discoveries. We've been able to predict the age of the universe, roughly, and we found moons around Pluto. Since the mission began back in 1990, Hubble has made over 1 million observations. It can literally see our past, as it shows us things 13 billion light years away. That's why this new telescope launching later this month can literally rewrite history. This is the most expensive space instrument to ever be flown or launched away from us. It's 100 times more powerful than Hubble, which is insane after you really think about what we've done with it. The James Webb telescope will let us see back to the creation of the universe, so keep your notifications on for a bit, because we might be in a simulation after all. We actually don't know. What do you think's out there? Just more space, more planets? Are we inside of a body like Osmosis Jones? I have no idea. I literally don't know. Number 7. The ISS. Ah yes, that time humans launched a science center into space. We love it. We still see it. I see it once a night. It's beautiful. Are astronauts still there? Do we use it? Yes and yes. We actually just grew peppers up there for the first time ever. There's lots happening. Back in 1998, the United States and Russia launched the first 2 pieces to the International Space Station, the ISS. Pieces were added over time more and more until come November 2000, it was now complete. In 2018, legislation was also approved to extend operations until 2030. So every time you see a bright ball of light slowly pass over your head, it might be a bunch of scientists eating space tacos. Literally, it's probably that. Number 6. Explorer 1. Long before NASA was even NASA, in fact, back in the Jet Propulsion Laboratory days, tests were underway to follow the recent Sputnik satellite into the cosmos. Where are the Russians going? I don't know, but we're gonna follow them. Cut to a few months later, Explorer 1 was ready for its first day at space school. NASA's first mission was to study the cosmic rays in Earth's orbit. Pretty low key compared to what we're doing now. I mean, Elon Musk just launched a car out there because he's like, I'm bored. The cosmic ray activity was actually so much lower than anticipated. So much so that scientists actually sent out another satellite 2 months later. Physicist James Van Allen believed that there was something interfering with the satellite cosmic ray detector, so once the second satellite was in the picture, literally, that theory was backed up. And this introduced us to the Van Allen radiation belts. Imagine getting radiation belts named after you, that'd be awesome. Just Taylor radiation. It's not as cool. Number 5. The space shuttle. Kinda hard to walk on the moon without getting a ride there first, am I right? In 1972, the Apollo program started to slow down, and the bills were starting to come in. These Apollo rockets were of course single use, but they were expensive. We're literally just throwing money into the universe. New reusable spacecraft was underway. Richard Nixon announced this new spacecraft, just literally 2 rocket boosters attached to an orbiter module with an external fuel tank, and it took them 9 years to figure it out, and come 1981, the shuttle Columbia lifted off. Our first reusable space shuttle. That was soon followed by 4 others: Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour. Many of these combined 135 missions included a pit stop or 2 at the International Space Station. It all comes together. Number 4, Apollo 13. April 11th, 1970, Apollo 13 was heading for the moon. On board the ship was astronauts James Lovell, John Swigert, and Fred Hayes. 46 hours after takeoff, there was an explosion that damaged the shuttle drastically. Every system to keep the astronauts alive and well were no longer operational. The second oxygen tank thermostat had been damaged long before the launch, and since its blast-off, these astronauts had little to no chance of coming home. There's actually a movie about this entire thing, and it's a wild ride. You have to watch it. A Tom Hanks classic. Their power supply, their water, their oxygen, heat, light, everything was just cut off. They had lost over 30 pounds combined as a unit when they got back. It was horrible. The people at NASA's Mission Control Center, they had to do months worth of calculations in only a few days. Instead of going to the moon, they had to figure out a way to use its pull and then just return these guys as quickly and as safely as possible back to Earth. Number 3. Perseverance. Only 140 million miles away, Mars is pretty similar to Earth. Only its days last 37 minutes longer, and they're definitely a little colder than ours here. Maybe not in Canada, I don't know, it's a cold one today. It's home to not 1 but 2 moons, and its atmosphere is primarily CO2 with some nitrogen, carbon, phosphorus, and oxygen. 2020 will go down, of course, as one of the worst years in all of our lives, but off-planet over on Mars, it was a little more hopeful. The Mars 2020 mission was launched on July 30th, and finally, this past February, it landed. The team sent this rover up, Perseverance, which was a cosmic Trojan horse essentially. It was loaded. This thing had an ultralight spectrometer, panoramic cameras, subsurface radars, weather station, and perhaps the most interesting, it had a helicopter, a little drone. Lovely. Like a little Decepticon, just released a and it flew away. Ingenuity hitched a ride, and come April 19th, 2021, we have our first flight on Mars. Look at it go, so small. A little bit different than when the Wright brothers had to, run their way into the skies. Now we're here. Number 2, dead galaxies. The universe is about 13 billion years old, and new research from NASA using the Hubble Space Telescope along with the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array in northern Chile, they both combined their powers and they found 6 different dead galaxies. Yeah, galaxies that had run out of the cold hydrogen needed to make these stars, and without the fuel for stars, these galaxies were basically running on nothing. Which is interesting if you're a scientist, and also if you're not one, because already you're like, what? These things can die? This discovery led us to a new question that we didn't even know we had. What led these galaxies to die? What happened to all the cold gas in them so early on? These 6 galaxies lived fast, hot lives, but we aren't really sure what went wrong. Lead author and assistant professor at astronomy of University of Massachusetts, Kate Whitaker, she proposed several potential explanations and gives us insight into the future of the studies when she says, did a massive super black hole in the galaxy center turn on and heat up all the gas? If so, the gas could still be there, but now it's hot. Or could it have been expelled and now it's being prevented from going back onto the galaxy? Or did the galaxy just use up all this power and now the supply is just cut off? These are some of the crazy questions that people are asking. Meanwhile, I'm like, where's my phone charger? I haven't seen it in 30 minutes. And finally, number 1, solar flares. We literally revolve around our sun and its heat. It blesses us with life energy, solar rotation, and most importantly, some sweet tan lines. But sometimes she acts up and gets a little scary, to say the least. Sometimes the sun creates these powerful magnetic fields that create sunspots larger than our entire planet. Yeah, I can't even think of that right now. I can't even fathom. This creates a stream of radiation. It creates solar wind. Now, normally this is a beautiful event. The northern lights happen because of Earth's magnetic field reacting to this radiation. But too much of a good thing can be just disaster. Back in October, a large solar flare was spotted, and then 3 days later, it finally hit Earth. The geomagnetic storm reached category G2, which out of 5 is still pretty strong. The biggest solar event was back in 1859. It's called the Carrington event. It was strong enough to disrupt telegraph communications, even shocking some telegraph operators. Imagine that. Imagine calling your friend and the power goes out and you get zapped through your phone. We were looking at power outages on a massive scale. If this happened now, people would lose their shit. Right in the middle of Spider-Man No Way Home, bam, blackout. Life as we know it is now meaningless. Is the Green Goblin back? I don't know, we couldn't tell you. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. I've been your host, Taylor McWaters, and we'll see you next time on Most Amazing Top 10. Peace.